Hello and welcome back to the Geek on My Sleeve channel. This is Geek Out 119 over Viridian Gate, Book 5, The Lich Priest by James A. Hunter.
He's quickly becoming one of our favorite lit RPG authors.
He does
He's
it
definitely
well.
up there.
Or he does a lot. Some I've enjoyed more than others, but we found him through a collaboration as well as he's done some interesting concepts. His other one, Rogue Dungeon, I want to say, had a very unique feel.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of it didn't like draw me in and keep me hooked because I was doing a bunch of other stuff, but it's definitely one I'm gonna go back to.
I was just about to point that out. Like our first exposure to him was Rogue Dungeon, and it was so unique and different, and we are kind of like, "Wow, this is fun." And then I think was the second time
Wolfman
on
Warlock.
the Dakota Crouch collaboration, which if you're new to the channel, I want to say about almost a quarter of our geek outs are either Dakota Kraut or in his universe, the Divine Dungeon. So then we're like, wow, this is interesting. And Viridian Gate, I feel it's one of the
It's
maybe
definitely highly recommended and shows up a lot.
Yeah. If you talk to people and they're like, oh, I listen to lit RPG. Viridian Gate is one that always comes up. Divine Dungeon series, the land, Awaken Online. Like there's 4 or 5 pillars there that are typically the gateways into the lit RPG space. And we came to Viridian Gate Online later. It's got so many good things that you definitely love. I really enjoy too. Just the collaboration with other authors, the expansive universe.
Yeah, we haven't
so many of the other
gotten that
tropes.
far on here yet for how everybody's their own main character, and he essentially has a storyline he's writing with multiple authors to have everybody be their own main character.
Yeah. And we even kind of had a bit of that in this book as well, right? With oh my gosh, I just do the blank.
Osmark?
Yeah.
Or Oswald? I always mess it up. But
Yeah.
Yeah, the Empire leader who we befriended or, decided to work with because there's a bigger bad currently messing stuff up. And so that's another thing that I can really respect about James A. Hunter because, like, the first 4 books, it was do the ends justify the means, and kind of the back and forth between the Empire and I forget what they call the Imperial faction. And so it wasn't quite Brandon Sanderson level, but it was done well enough that I'm involved and still engaged with it. And what I mean by that is Brandon Sanderson likes to give you those people who you love to hate, and then you get their backstory, and you're like, all right, well, being a bad guy doesn't make me a bad guy. Wreck-It Ralph quote. But
see what he did there.
He does it in such a way where it's essentially the same thing, but it wasn't quite as well executed. But anyway, so we have to essentially get the Overmind Sophia to tell us that we're acting like buffoons, and then this is what I love about it was the mechanic where their fates are intertwined, and every debuff that Osmark suffers, Jack also suffers, and if they die, the other one dies. So there's it brings them together, and we get to see the other side of Osmark without all of his cronies behind him, and him having to be the over the top leader of the Empire or Emperor.
Right.
Yeah.
It opens up like the end of the previous book, we were pretty much going to war with each other, big old battle, and then we had to join forces after just slaughtering each other to take on, the evil
Carrera.
The evil third power, the
Russian that we ended up
book
stealing
1.
his
his golden ticket.
Yeah,
to found a faction.
His scroll to get the seal to found the faction, and he was not happy.
And so then, like, this book, we open up where the Empire is pretty much standing back, letting Jack's faction fight.
It's a collaboration to where we need to. Oh, okay, sorry. I see where you're going.
Yeah, the book opens up where we see how poorly the new alliance is working out as the Empire is standing back. You got through this book several more times than I did, but then, like, Jack goes to confront the leader of the Empire faction, pretty much saying, what are you doing? Why are you ordering your guys to stand back, let my people take casualties? And he's pretty much like, okay, like, I'm the master planner schemer. You're not seeing all these other fronts, that your people aren't there, that my faction is, holding them off, et cetera, et cetera.
We're in other locations. And
And then, as you said, Sophia rolls in and he's like, hey, while you guys are bickering and fighting, my home plane is in trouble. Your deity is going to be next, so she's allowing me to conscript you, and congratulations, buff debuffs. Your fates are now sealed, etc., etc. This is all after, like, the massive escalation between the people. His monk guys about ready to go at Cutter, and Abby in the earlier books pretty much, like, stole this ticket.
Hi, Chaz.
Yeah, good to see you, buddy. She's pretty much, like, so anti Osmark or whatnot, because, like, she knows all the evil things he's done, all the backdoor deals to get where he is, so on and so forth. So she's just itching to take him out. And then we have kind of the whole freeze time space. Sophia comes in, does all that fun stuff, drops them into her plane of existence, and everybody just cuts loose to start blasting each other. And in the meantime, because of those curses or whatever, like, Abby's pretty much, like, blazing her lover because of the intertwined fates and whatnot. And then help me pick up from there on the play-by-play on where we go.
So after we have our little showdown, this is another one of those, like, LitRPG tropes we see a lot. We see cute little bunnies being vicious, and we get jumbo or gigantic vicious rabbits who are about to rip our face off. And we get saved by, I believe they're pixies, right?
Yeah, I really got a kick out of the fact that they were, like, saying, oh man, those bunnies must have been boss monsters, or like, oh yeah, definitely. And they're pretty much the trash mobs, right?
Yeah, but it's the way that the two overminds are interplaying for everything. It was like, it's the section of giants, but due to the Chaos Overmind, or I forget which one he actually is. I don't think it's Chaos. Anyway, and then we get saved by the pixie, and we get escorted back to town. We learned that Sophia sent her to pick them up and essentially gather them. We meet with the I can't remember the name, but it's like the town mayor-esque person.
Right.
And of course, they're very hesitant because, as we learned, the pixie who picked us up is kind of in everybody's bad graces because she's the one who brought Carrera through, and he's the one who released our Lich priest that we run into, and started all of the cascading events. So she's not in anybody's good graces. We essentially know that our quest is to harness our powers and to destroy the pillars so that the Lich priest can't go back through the portal and ensue chaos. We get the coordinates or whatever. We sweet talk them, get the coordinates to the first pillar, and we're about to head out when Abby is like, hey, so this is, we need to fortify this. These people aren't going to survive. We need to do what's right for the everyman and make sure that this is all going to work out.
And I kind of enjoy that scene for a number of different reasons. Like, being MMO players, we naturally fall into like shortest path, right? Like to victory, like run from one objective to the next objective, so on and so forth. But this is their new world, right? Like this is their reality.
Exist.
So like the fact that they stop and kind of acknowledge that, and you see a bit of that humanity of like, hey, like, yes, these are NPCs, but there are children here. We can't just like run off. What are they going to do?
Well, plus it did very well because, I forgot our main guy's name already.
Jack?
Yeah, Jack has been hanging out with Osmark a lot, and he's kind of like not really influenced them, but he's kind of like they're trying to, have even ground or not step on each other's toes too much. And so Osmark was trying to tell him logically and work through it, and he probably would have just gone on because it's, uncomfortable situation for all the way around, but he does have that, flashback of how he got started on this journey. Oh, I can't remember her name, but the dying lady for the very opening scene, getting into the world.
Yes.
And where Cutter's basically like, oh, just scalp her, it's worth a gold mark. And he does the right thing.
Shadow priestess or whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
So it's a balance between like inside current events and having a buddy system or people to keep you on track. It was a good interplay. And then of course, after we fortify, we realize it's going to be a water level, and those are never fun or so much fun.
Yeah, I forget her exact title, but she was like kind of like a Naga queen or something like that of the water realm or whatever that we had to go.
She was essentially Aquaman, but a naiad.
Yeah.
And Champion was a giant crab thing.
That's right. I really enjoyed seeing Osmark's combat in action. Like he could have done more, but his class just seems like a whole lot of fun.
I guess that's another thing that I really have enjoyed about James A. Hunter is typically lit RPGs are in the fantasy aspect, and this one is in the fantasy aspect, but has done a phenomenal job adding in steampunk influence.
Right.
But in that same regard, has real world, I guess, logic or gravity exists kind of method where you need oxygen to have the gunpowder detonate to fire the bullet. So while Osmark is underwater, his guns don't work. Same thing with his grenades. Like you need to have the spark. So it's
it was well done.
It was a nice touch, and it's hard to blend that many elements well. It's kind of like opposite.
So we had our first true boss fight.
Yep, saving the naiad lady.
The guards show up after the champion's defeated, try to flex on Jack, saying,
"Oh, I guess
take the knee."
I was thinking when we first meet her,
we
save her from one of the bosses,
Okay.
And then we go through the water, and then we get our awesome upgrade for our shadow step.
Mm-hmm.
And then we ninja backdoor our way into a trap, which we knew was a trap. And then, ooh, man, the mechanics of just getting our shadow step upgraded to infiltrate and have it be multi-purposed and end up pulling the void terror that had been stalking us this whole time back through, like that. In that one upgrade,
that
it was
like
so
a move
beautifully,
you would totally pull.
So
like how can I aggro this boss into this other boss? That way, you know, I can collect some fat loot.
Yeah.
That'd totally be something you'd pull. And or try to pull, and then just to find out the game mechanics don't allow it.
More like PvP 3v, or, you know, 3 opposites, or 3
Speaking of steampunk, guns and fantasy, Tiny Tina is officially out.
I haven't had the time. I'm interested, I'm intrigued, but yeah, just haven't had the time.
I've been eyeballing it. I'm annoyed that it doesn't go on Steam for another week. They went and did an epic
there you
deal.
go. I can't get it anyway.
They went and did an epic deal. Anyway, back on point.
Yeah, so game mechanics are cool, and then we get the trident, and then of course everybody's trying to be like, hey, so now that you've done all the hard work, how about you kneel? And he's like, nope, that's not how this is gonna work. Every time that happens, things go south, and then he flexes on him.
I ain't no Jon Snow. Not going to take the knee.
Yep.
Yeah. They get their boon. When you call, I will arrive, do what I can.
Oh yeah, I guess
whisper into water.
That's the other interesting element that we forgot. When Abby was like, "Hey, we've got to fortify the town," they fortify it, and then the mayor or whatever is like, "Oh, hey, here's a pearl for your next aspect." So it's kind of like, the renown or the honor system in MMOs, and that was a nice touch. And then kind of continuing forward, she's like, "Hey, so now that you've honored me, you know, I'll do you a favor."
Mm-hmm. She points them to the next objective in the chain quest.
Yep, next objective. But before we could even get going on it, we come back and we're like, "Where'd everybody go? What's going on here?" And our pixie lady shows up, and she's like, "Oh, well, everybody left. They said, or Abby said, the town is burning." Yet again, great way to kind of tie in the whole mechanic of like she stayed behind to fortify them. Well, she's also a great messaging service and was able to tell them. We end up jumping on our mounts and flying back. I want to say most of the fighting was pretty much done by the time we got there. The fighting was done, and then we take stock. A bunch of people got killed. We did all right. They stole the children. This is where they tug at your heartstrings with Osmark.
Yeah. Do you trust me, Jack? Well, no. No, I do not. Well, you're going to have to.
Yeah.
You guys are dead weight. I'm going to go on ahead.
Yeah, and then
I enjoyed how Jack figured out how to kind of like break the mechanics a little bit, right? Kind of thinking out of the box when he could see Osmark's health and everything start plummeting.
Oh yeah, his other, and that's another great mechanic that I enjoy throughout James A. Hunter's books, or I guess I should just say Viridian Gate. It's you have your level, your class, all of those aspects, but then since he's essentially the deity of a god, he's got additional skill tree or god tree stuff.
Right.
And that's where the group heal mechanic comes in. But due to him being the agent of order, it is indiscriminate. So it can remove buffs, like we saw with the monk, where it removes his iron skin, but then it can also remove debuffs, which helps Osmark after he got assaulted and, was taking a bunch of continuous debuff damage stuff.
Yeah, I might be misremembering, but I thought Jack ended up like applying it to himself.
Yeah, and it cleared it.
It cleared. Yeah.
Or it was I think it was a different battle when he ends up using it again, and the monk loses his iron skin or whatnot. But yeah. But yeah, that was another. Only in this situation would it ever work, and it was very convenient that it did work.
Mm-hmm.
And then, I enjoyed the Cutter and Amara interplay as we're going off and doing other stuff.
There's some tension there.
Yeah. Mechanics of who they are and their stuff.
Yeah.
So, and then we get the kids. We get a Zeppelin. Osmark can't take out the pillar, but we, like I said, have a Zeppelin, or what do they call them? It's not a Zeppelin. It's a sky boat. I want to say it's a Zeppelin.
I think you're right. I was about to say, I thought it was a Zeppelin, but skyboat works too.
Yeah, with goblins.
Pirate ship.
Yeah, we end up Leroy Jenkinsing and crash our Zeppelin into the pillar, taking it out. We fly off on our mounts, get everybody back. And then we reconvene back at the place, have our, heart to heart with everybody, and drink our wine, which isn't good enough. But
Cutter just can't stop complaining about not like a good mead.
Yeah.
He's so funny when whenever there's a risk that they're going to be trapped there or whatever, he's like, oh my gosh, no gambling, no mead. We gotta save them. I can't be trapped here. But it was good. It was interesting because we had that heart to heart between Osmark and Jack there, where we got to learn more about Osmark's past, where his niece, he never had kids, but he was really close to his niece. And I guess the upload or brain scan rates for kids under 10,
70% fail.
Yeah, it was really low. And then, potential foreshadowing there, both his brother and his sister-in-law, or his sister and his brother-in-law.
Yeah, both of her parents made it through, and when they came through, they weren't the same. And we kind of see that for I guess that was a separate book. Never mind. Just kidding. I was thinking Awaken Online for emotions influencing environmental stuff, but that's
right.
Yes and no. But so then we have the heart to heart, wake up with a hangover, and start getting to planning. Essentially, the town's like, they stole our young. We're going to get them back. We're going to fight with you. And we're like, no, I can die. I can come back. You guys can't. And then Abby pops up, and we're like, whatever. We'll bring you along.
Well, the mayor makes a good argument. Hey,
it's not your choice.
Yeah, this is our town. And again, another thing I can respect for an author is it gets frustrating when every plan goes the way you want it to. There's some struggle, there's some doubt, but then, they pull through in the end. This quote unquote final battle, final act, they fail first time around, right? They lose a good number of NPCs, and Jack kind of has that epiphany when he's walking with Osmark, and they're having an old bromance. We're seeing them bonding and everything. Osmark calls out Sophia for pretty much like this is part of her ploy and her plan to make this all happen and then bond over this experience.
Oh, yeah,
and then
making me act like you for this instance. Yeah.
And then Jack's like, well, if I'm to act like you, we don't need order. We don't need, this, that, and the other, because I'm going up against the previous champion of order.
Yeah.
We need chaos. We need to be like Osmark and, come from the side. And it's interesting. I'm not to jump ahead, but just so I don't lose a train of thought, when he challenges him to a one-on-one, and the previous champion of order is like, what is this? Like, it was supposed to be one-on-one combat, and Jack's like, this is war. Like, and again, like, do the ends justify the means? So I thought that was kind of like an interesting perspective in a way. Like, he's kind of swung a little bit more towards Osmark's perspective on these things, because
he solidifies it and drives it home, and that's where, like, it's not quite Brandon Sanderson for learning to love the people who they make you love to hate, but it does add the element of perspective of, like, do the ends justify the means, or do you not need to, pillage and murder and blah 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 so that you're better than the other guy. But in reality, and I want to say it comes out something like, oh, I'm not trying to create a world without those kind of people. I'm trying to create a world where people can choose. So you have
harmony, like coexistence.
Yeah. But yeah, we have the first battle lead up where, our monk pulls through. He's a pro or ex-pro gamer, and pretty much has a strategy and the cavalry and everything. Ends up working out fairly well, but we still get overran. And then he brings out his world boss form, and we get a little stomped. That's the moment where they're trying to save Osmark, and he uses his heal ability, but it ends up getting rid of Jay's, or the monk's, stone hide, so he ends up perishing because of it. And then we get to see more interplay or trauma with the death debuff, and just puts them into a weird psychological thing. And it was one of those, like, should have been fixed, but due to we're all gonna die, it got rushed. And it was interesting mechanics. Then we have our new game plan of chaos that we talked about, where it was the other half of the quest for harnessing our powers or understanding our powers more. So he's got to get his quote unquote world boss mode for being the champion of God. And then, so we do a little bit of power leveling, and then we change up our approach and we challenge him to one-on-one while running around him. Right. That was a good battle too.
I was about to say, like, haven't gotten to ask you this question yet, but I feel like most of this book was like preparing or leading up for combat. It was like one boss fight after another.
Yes, and so combat, I felt, did well because it played in several different spaces and had a bunch of mechanics. For the first one, when we're going up against first pillar, when we're going up against the crab, and we pull the void terror from the other realm, like, that was just a beautiful, unique, brand new skill aspect that was great. As well as just Osmark not being able to use his gun and being hindered, but still, being successful and persevering. Into our second one, which you normally don't see a whole lot of mounted combat, or at least in the MMO scene, there are flying mounts, but not mounted combat. So the divide and conquer and taking over the Zeppelins and, getting the kids back and actually losing, but not really losing because we kamikazed it. And then, yeah, the final battle for the world boss-esque mode, and just, yeah, us bringing out our own and just that new added element and mechanic. And then, yeah, Osmark is about to get his own, but not really, but maybe. Yeah, and then, yeah, the combat was good. I also really enjoy for Viridian Gate the way it has a little bit of everything, because it starts off book one kind of like solo play.
Right.
For getting into it, getting our class, figuring things out, and we get a little bit of Abby. And then book two is the dungeon crawl, which I'm disappointed we haven't seen more of I guess that's another one where we get it. But the dungeon crawl. And then book three is a little bit of everything and is an epic quest storyline where we've got to go through all the different things, and we actually, get our thing and become to the power.
Right. Unite the faction or whatnot behind us.
Yeah. And then book four, I want to say, is primarily the interplay of the battle where, now that we have a faction, now that you have a faction, let's go toe to toe into a, could have been the coup de grace, but just kidding. There's a bigger bad to go fight. And yeah, so we still have a lot of gods that haven't chosen a champion or been involved
that we know of.
Yeah. Because I'm trying to think, what are there, 7?
I believe so.
So we know of
supercomputer, 3, like AI,
or 4,
right?
Because we have Order, which is Jax. We have Chaos, which is Osmark, and then we have Carrera, which is Disorder. I can't remember what Carrera is. And then we also assume or know there was the guy who was transitioning, but things went wrong, and now he is a dungeon.
That's right.
And I wish we got to see more of him.
I would love to just read a full story from his point of view. And we know that James A. Hunter kind of has some experience with that or just writing from that point of view, because of I guess Rogue Dungeon isn't straight up dungeon core, but you do get kind of dungeon creation.
Yeah, he does the dungeon mechanics where he's changing the halls and the pathways and setting traps and setting scalable levels and infiltrating other dungeons. And yeah, there's a lot of dungeon core mechanics, but it reads more like Divine Dungeon, where you get kind of the both aspects of a dungeon crawler and a dungeon core.
Right.
But yeah, so I lost my train of thought. Several gods that we know of and we don't know of. I'm curious to see what or how or who all these elements come to be. But so we finally defeat the big bad Lich after, failing the first time and killing a bunch of people off. Also, we get the final pillar down. Then, we end up, Osmark essentially wants the world boss power. Abby gets a flying mount. Amara gets Cutter to become immortal, which that is going to be interesting, and that's exciting. Yeah, we're gonna have to kill him. I'm sorry, but he's gonna have to die so that he can come back, so we can make sure it works. But I'm curious to how that's all gonna come about, and
that was pretty cool.
What kind of death state, lucid visions he's gonna have, because he's essentially an amalgamation or creation from our main guy. And so I'm just curious how that's going to play out, if it does happen and play out. Yeah, he's probably going to kill him off. Just spitballing here. And then, Cutter gets his Zeppelin goblin ship business, which So yeah, I want to mount too. I want this. Yeah, the crew is totally a part of that. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She even said like, "Oh, you're stretching it," but sure enough, Cutter would be the one that would stretch the limits there, right?
Yeah, and then our main guy didn't get it. Didn't get his thing. He's currently got an IOU, which she's good for apparently, and it leaves it open to interpretation and possibilities. And yeah, we got an ace in our
Well, I
back
mean, we
pocket.
gotta have some sort of cliffhanger and
That
suspense
that is
going
true.
into the
That is
book.
true.
Plus, we get a pixie companion, right? Did you say that one?
I forgot that one. Yeah, we get our Pixie who's been following us around, who had her brother, perish, and who was trying to get in everybody's good graces again. So we've got our Pixie companion. We're waiting on our main guy's thing. Plus, we have, or did we use our favor for the Naiad, or did we just go pick her up on our ship?
I
Because
thought
I felt like we just picked her up on our ship because it was kind of like in her best interest.
maybe we did
Because
because she
I
came into
thought
play
the
for the final
mechanic,
battle, right?
yeah, she's the one who did the coup de grace.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure we just picked her up on our Zeppelin because I thought the thing was to place it in water or it will open a portal and she'll do it if she can. So
Right.
yeah,
Right.
yeah, I felt like we still have that in our back pocket, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was great addition.
Action packed. A lot of good character development. Kind of, it was a good, traumatic bonding experience to kind of bring the factions together for this new greater evil that can permakill people, right?
Yeah.
This,
Yep.
yeah.
Well, I forget what they call the blades, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I thought another interesting thing. Oh, Forge, our
Texas Marine.
Yeah, our Texas Marine essentially trained up a special forces as back at the beginning, but
yeah,
and then they were following them around.
Yeah,
So that was pretty nifty. We didn't get any special notions for our alchemist.
Well, we got a couple components for him. Was it Vlad?
Yeah.
Our Russian.
Yep.
Yeah. So like we've had this good bonding experience with all the leaders of the two factions, more or less. And Sophia lets us know that they've lost ground back in the real world, not her plane of existence. So now going into book 6, we're finally getting there with VGO. Going into book 6, hopefully, which we haven't listened to yet. You haven't gotten through it yet, have you?
No, I just everything else going on. That and I'm trying not to. Normally, I would marathon all of them, and I can't wait. But we're doing other stuff, so
yeah. Like it'll be really. I'm hoping there's some good large scale combat moving in now that we have these special forces. Now
James
that we have
seems to be doing. He does well. Another book series that I enjoy is The Land. And The Land, as much as it is a lit RPG, it follows primarily a solo operation throughout most of it. And then you get a little bit of town building and, economics and blah, blah, blah. But you don't get a whole lot of great like group dynamic bits. You get kind of like another party member, right. And we kind of have like our core,
right.
And then I guess they do have a couple good dungeon dive moments as well as a grand, army battle one. But this book has something. This series has something different every time where I can say, wow, I love this book for this reason and the way this was portrayed. And yeah.
Well said.
He bounces around more, but does it well.
Yeah. Well said. Yeah, and it still holds true to like the core book mechanics, but we do get a bouncing around of where we get to see different elements that you typically would in an MMO without it really just sticking with your dungeon dives or sticking with your small party.
Or your town building
yeah,
or whatever.
Yeah, or your large scale battle.
And that's where like part of me hates that we didn't see the Alchemist, or we didn't see Forge, or we didn't see any of our core, questing dungeon delvers for the previous instance. But knowing that everybody's their own main character and he's going to have a independent specific book series for them, I can give them some leeway of why they weren't involved in our current endeavors.
Yeah.
Because they're often their own epic stuff.
Right.
Yeah. And so like I miss them, but I can understand it. And we'll reconvene later, I'm sure.
There's also a lot of fun classes in this series, which I really enjoy. Break away from the traditional roles.
Well, the fact that like you can have a crafting as a main class kind of deal, that threw me off. And kind of like Osmark, he primarily is for building stuff, and that's why the steampunk mechanic thing works, where he's got his mech suit that he can summon, he's got a couple of these other things, and
right.
Yeah. Though I guess we also we had one good Void Terror battle, where the other ones it was like us getting our I can't remember, our giant shadow dragon guy. Who's got a name? Anyway, so we got our mount in one, and then we picked up our monkeys in the other one, and then
the monkeys had a good sacrifice moment to save the NPCs, taking one for the team. Then they take like a fireball to the face or something like that.
They had a good sacrifice moment, as well as the comic relief right before we dive face first into battle with flying Cutter off and him, shaking his fist and cursing him. And I guess we had the one good Void Terror or Void moment for that first pillar when we defeat the crab and we bring the other Void Terror in. Okay. We did get cool ability elements, so I'll give him that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had good character growth and development. We had good combat. We had updating mechanics. We had our monk guy who got the +20 to luck. I forgot to mention that one.
That's going to be interesting to see.
Yeah,
any stat you say.
I feel several Matrix moments in his future where he's lucky enough to dodge it, as well as epic loot rolls and whatnot and so on.
It's true. Yeah. So as always, like it's really hard to get all the epic awesomeness covered in these streams. I know we kind of flew through this one, but Pete and I do have a couple other things to get to before the night's done. Any big key moments you feel we glossed over that we wanted to touch base on? Like this.
So the plane or the main spot that all this happened was it's like a separate instance, but it is the soul or mind or core of the god. And
Sophia in this case.
Yeah, and Sophia in this case. And that is weirdly unique, and I can see a lot of crusading or crucible elements for influencing and affecting other things, because like with the interplay we got to see the giant rabbits and then we got to see the Lich Lord and so on. But I'm curious to see what other elements will happen, because I envision Osmark needing help, as well as our human, or used to be a human, is now a dungeon core needing help. And I'm just, because it started off where the Overminds were essentially, hey, I'm order, and hey, this is monster chaos or whatnot, and creates things for people to fight, and I create the quest for them to go fight them. Mm-hmm. And then you've got one that's like weather and elements and erosion, and making sure that the ecosystem operates. And then you had the time and the space one, and so on and so forth. So I want to see more champions. I want to see more specialized dungeon spaces. I want to catch up with a lot of our crew. Yeah, there's a lot of potential.
It's always nice when an author can expand its universe and its magic system without contradicting, some of the earlier elements and rules established. And James A. Hunter did a great job with that in this book, where, like you said, it's kind of her realm, her space, her stuff. So like it still makes sense, but it's a new playground, and alludes to other potential playgrounds and spaces. And I think Osmark kind of went into it a little bit as well. But yeah. Anything else, or time to plug next week?
Oh, I was trying to figure out, because I know we got one here. So I think that brings us some closure for this one. Next week,
number 120,
we are going to Asgard for what is this number, or book 9 in the Arturian Archives by Dennis Vanderkerken in the world of Dakota Kraut. Mm-hmm. Haven't gone through it yet, but we're still, for those in the know, are in the beta phases of what is Completionist Chronicles.
I think it's technically alpha.
Alpha phase of...
Yes.
Terminology gets weird.
Alpha, beta is typically the way it goes.
Yeah, alpha's first and then beta.
Yep.
Or yeah, because beta's got the outside live tester. So yeah, sorry, typically. Alpha of the Completionist Chronicles, and we've been doing a lot of trying to it's getting good.
So changing it up, I actually have gotten to this, and it's getting good. Like, we've had a lot of build up, a lot of scaling the last couple books, being in the alpha phase of the Completionist Chronicles. Our Mage of Love and Pillow Magic, he's doing his thing, and he's doing it well in this space. The big challenge, minor spoilers for those who haven't read the series up to this point, but Barry has let demons in, and that's what's been kind of causing some chaos and havoc up until this point. And so Arturian's trying to go through and do what he can to take care of all of these demons, to make sure that they don't get into Cal's soul space, because we're currently in Eternium's soul space. And there's been some challenges there between our boy Arturian and Eternium, and just all of everything we have going on there. So it's getting good. We're starting to get some closure on some things, making new friends along the way, getting to see how everything's working out. So it's really exciting, a lot of fun. I wish that the other audiobooks were out, but I think this one is going to have us be current for what is currently released. Going from memory, I think like a couple other are waiting on artwork and the voice actors to get to them. And then correct me if I'm wrong, I think Dennis says he's currently working on 13 right now. 14 right now.
That sounds right. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's waiting on art for 10, and then edits and a voice narration for 11, 12, and then he's actively working on 13 there.
Yeah. So yeah, awesome community. Love their Discord. We've been spoiled to where I think Dennis Vanderkirk, the author himself, actually does his best to make an appearance during these streams. So we're able to get a lot of our questions answered in real time. And he just does an amazing job listening to feedback from the community, which is awesome. So, but yeah. That is next week, Sunday, 8 p.m. Eastern is the time frame we're hanging out at. And then the following week, going to a series that was recommended by our community in this lovely little corner of the internet that we like to geek out on books. The Perfect Run 2. I think Peter and I both have actually gotten through this.
Yep, by Maxime J. Durand.
Yeah.
It's not quite LitRPG. If I had to explain it, I would say take My Hero Academia, where people get random powers, combine it with the end of the world apocalypse and mafia people. I don't know. It's probably not the best way to describe it, but it's very unique in its execution. Short version is our main guy. His name or his superhero title is Quick Save. And the idea is when he dies, he can't die. He just returns to a previous state and time when he's saved. And it has a lot of unique elements. In book 1, it plays essentially, it's kind of like playing Fate or GTO, where you can play every side or every aspect of it. And so we collected a bunch of data, and I really enjoy the book. It has a lot of very unique, interesting mechanics, and it's hard to describe, honestly, because it's
different, which is fun.
They gain their powers through alchemy, but it's not really alchemy because it's elements that are taken from other dimensions that have select powers. And when harnessing or using these powers, you pull it from that other dimension. So it's kind of like space-time continuum smashed with alchemy in a futuristic apocalyptic world that people have superpowers, but not everybody.
With the main character and point of view of somebody that reminds me of Deadpool and his personality.
Yes, very.
Which, if you like Deadpool, you like, fantasy sci-fi mechanics and video game jokes and references, this is a good book for you.
And and that's where it has a lot of video game elements, but it doesn't have the stats to be classified as a lit.
Mm-hmm. Which is okay.
Yeah. It's
It's nice. It's okay, Pete, to listen to books that aren't lit RPG.
But I wouldn't say like it's strictly fantasy.
No.
I wouldn't say it's sci-fi.
No.
I'm just it doesn't fit in its neat little box, which I appreciate. And it's good. It's
Yeah.
Oh man, but the second book here, I thought we were going to have a conclusion with how successful we were for the first book, but oh my, did it take a twist.
No spoilers, but
and it starts playing with the big boys. Like we thought we were figuring out the ins and out, and oh man, like.
But it does a good job because, like, even though we're going through different loops, it keeps scaling, right? Like, we keep...
as well as this book, we finally get a partner in crime that we weren't expecting. That is a good addition.
Yeah, no spoilers. Yeah. But yes, well done. Really looking forward to that Geek Out. As always, we appreciate those of you who are able to join us during the live streams. Keep tossing book suggestions our way. We hope to get a few more Geek Outs scheduled here in the near future. We also have a number of collaboration events coming up, so make sure to watch our social media and hop over and join our Discord if you have a chance. And we appreciate you guys.
Yeah. I hope to geek out with you here soon.
Bye.
Bye.